Before the world knew him as a Hollywood legend, Robert Redford was just a young man, awestruck by the wild beauty of America's national parks. He would go on to become the face of American cinema: Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, Jeremiah Johnson. Yet his heart always belonged to the mountains, forests, and canyons. Redford's story is inseparable from the landscapes that shaped him. Places where the sunrise spills gold over jagged peaks, and the air is so clean it feels like a new beginning. These wild places, Yosemite, the Tetons, Zion, became his sanctuary and his cause. He saw not just scenery, but a cathedral not made by hands. Redford didn't just admire these places, he fought for them. He founded the Sundance Institute, championed conservation, and used his fame to protect the wild heart of America. To stand in these parks is to feel both small and infinite, to breathe in the same air that inspired Redford's lifelong crusade. This is the majesty that generations have tried to capture in poems and paintings, a raw, untamed beauty that asks nothing of us except that we show up, shut up, and look. As we begin this journey, remember, the story of America's wild places is also the story of those who dared to defend them. And few have done so with more passion or more style than Robert Redford. Now, into this majestic scene rides a hero. Not a grizzled park ranger on a trusty steed, but a man whose story is as rugged as the landscape itself. Robert Redford, actor, director, environmentalist, grew up in California, the son of a milkman, with dreams as big as the open sky. Before he was an Academy Award-winning director or the patron saint of independent film, he was just a kid who found solace in the wild places of the West. A man who now needs no introduction. The man with the famously rugged jawline and hair the color of sun-bleached straw, who would one day become a Hollywood icon. But long before the Oscars and the red carpets, Redford worked in Yosemite, breathing in pine-scented air and feeling the granite under his fingertips. He didn't just see pretty mountains, he saw a sanctuary, a part of the national soul being chipped away by concrete, commerce, and a general lack of foresight. Unlike most of us, who might just sigh wistfully and go back to worrying about our mortgages, Redford decided to do something about it. He became a champion for the wild, using his growing fame to shine a spotlight on conservation. When fortune did come knocking, he didn't just retreat to a Beverly Hills mansion. Instead, he bought a swath of land in Utah, not to build a monstrous theme park, but to preserve it. He named it Sundance, and it became his fortress of solitude against the encroaching madness of the modern world. There, he founded the Sundance Film Festival, nurturing independent voices and protecting the land itself. For Redford, conservation was never about celebrity posturing. He fought for clean air and water, for public lands, and for the right of future generations to experience wildness. He saw the inexorable march of development, strip mines scarring the hillsides, rivers being dammed, the relentless sprawl of cities gobbling up open space. Redford's advocacy helped protect millions of acres of public land. He lobbied politicians, narrated documentaries, and served on boards, bringing the beauty and plight of these wild places into living rooms across the country. He understood that protecting these parks wasn't a political issue, but a moral one. It was about safeguarding a shared inheritance. He fought against corporate greed and governmental apathy, believing that if we could just hold back the bulldozers and the oil rigs, the integrity of these sacred spaces could be preserved for generations to come. He was a true believer in the power of preservation. His legacy is written not just in film, but in forests, rivers, and the clean air we breathe. Redford's fight was fundamentally about saving the parks from the outside in. He looked at the vast, pristine wilderness and saw external threats circling like vultures. He and his allies stood as guardians at the gate, believing that protecting borders would protect sanctity within. It was logical, well-intentioned. Nobody, it seems, thought to check who was already inside the gates. Today, America's national parks are under siege, not from bulldozers, but from us. In 2022, visitors left behind a record 14 million pounds of trash. Overflowing bins, plastic bottles, and food wrappers choked the trails. In Yellowstone, rangers found entire campsites buried in garbage. And in Yosemite, volunteers filled dumpsters with abandoned tents and broken gear. The destruction is everywhere, and it's accelerating. Campgrounds have become disaster zones. Vandalized park signs, spray-painted rocks, and trees scarred by knives are now common sights. In 2021, over 1,000 incidents of vandalism were reported in national parks. Ancient petroglyphs in Utah were defaced, and iconic Joshua trees were cut down for firewood. The wildness Redford fought for is being erased, one careless act at a time. The toll on wildlife is devastating. Dozens of bears, elk, and bison die each year after eating human food or trash. In Grand Teton, a grizzly was euthanized after ingesting plastic. In Rocky Mountain National Park, a deer died tangled in discarded fishing line. Human carelessness is killing the very creatures these parks were meant to protect. The result? Ecosystems are collapsing. Fragile meadows trampled into mud, rivers polluted, and silence shattered by crowds and engines. The greatest threat is no longer outside forces. It's us, and the devastation we bring every time we enter these sacred places. If nothing changes, the parks we love may not survive. The disconnect between tourists and nature has never been more dangerous. In 2022 alone, over 50 people were injured by bison in Yellowstone, some gored while taking selfies. Robert Redford warned us, disrespecting wildlife can have deadly consequences for both animals and people. Every year, bears are tranquilized and relocated, or even killed, after tourists feed them or get too close. In 2021, at least 12 bears in U.S. parks were euthanized because of human recklessness. The parks are not petting zoos. Our actions can mean life or death for these animals. This is reckless affection, people chasing selfies, cornering elk, or feeding squirrels for a viral video. The result? Animals lose their fear of humans, become aggressive, and are often destroyed. The cost of a careless moment is irreversible. The numbers are staggering. Hundreds of animals relocated, dozens killed, and fragile habitats trampled beyond repair. Redford's message is more urgent than ever. Admire from afar, or risk destroying what you came to see. These parks are sanctuaries, not theme parks. If we want them to survive, we must respect the wildness within. Sometimes the best way to help is to keep our distance and let nature remain wild. Look at our national parks today, and you see a crisis unfolding. The wild places Robert Redford fought for are vanishing, forests shrinking, rivers running dry, and silence replaced by the roar of loss. For decades, Redford and others drew lines in the sand, fighting oil rigs, bulldozers, and politicians. But the truth is, we're losing ground. Since 1970, the U.S. has lost over 24 million acres of natural land, an area the size of Indiana. The boundaries Redford fought to protect are fading. Threats now come from every direction: climate change, invasive species, and our own relentless presence. The fight for the land is slipping away. We owe Redford and his generation gratitude, but gratitude is not enough. Today, over 1,300 plant and animal species in U.S. parks are threatened or endangered. Some may disappear forever. The challenges have changed. It's not just bulldozers at the gates, it's wildfires, drought, and the slow, invisible erosion of what makes these places sacred. The damage is real, and it's accelerating. The greatest danger now is not just industry, but our own indifference. Every careless step, every piece of trash, every moment we look away. These are the new threats. We risk loving these places to death and losing them forever. Redford's legacy is a warning and a plea. If we do not act now, these wild places will become memories, photos in a book, stories we tell our children about what was lost. The real fight is for survival, of forests, rivers, and creatures on the brink. It's a call to each of us. Act now or watch these sanctuaries vanish. The time for gratitude is over. The time for action is now. If we fail, the wild beauty Redford loved will be gone, irretrievable, irreplaceable. The future of these sacred places depends on us, right now. Stand up, speak out, and fight for what remains before it's lost forever.